My name is Julie Green. My book, when I'm coming out with it, is going to be called Life After Lithium. I have the table of contents right here. I printed them out, and I'm going to be talking about why I am writing the book, and I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a summary of the book. I'm writing my book, Life After Lithium, because I feel that there is a dire need for this book. I noticed a general overall lack of knowledge about lithium. This is a drug that's still being given. I have some statistics in the book about how often it's being given in my country, the United States, and abroad, worldwide, and the general overall lack of knowledge about lithium. It's something that was given quite a bit decades ago. It's given less nowadays. There's a little bit of general awareness of how dangerous this drug is. I know that people are getting older who were taking it back in the lithium heyday. I was one of those people that was taking it back then. It was given to me pretty much as a go-to drug when they just didn't know what else to do with me. I actually went to mental health because I had an eating disorder, which, the eating disorder was pretty much forgotten about. And all of a sudden I had all these other diagnoses. I have to laugh. But anyway, I was put on lithium for arbitrary reasons. But anyway, these are the table of contents. I'm going to be making the book very, very accessible. Mainly because I'm not a snob. I don't want to make a huge amount of money off the book. My main goal is to make it accessible to as many people as possible, to make this information available to the general public, to people who need it, especially to people my age who are getting up in years, who may be desperately seeking information they're not getting from their doctors. It's people who probably are entering, late-stage kidney disease, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, and are not getting information from their doctors because the doctors just don't have it. And anyway, table of contents. I started off talking about my own story, my life as a patient, what it was like, what life was like before lithium, what life was like, why I entered the mental health system. Why would a promising music student enter the mental health system in the first place? Why I was put on lithium, what my 12 years of lithium were like, and eventually why I was taken off and what the consequences were, what I was starting to notice, what the beginning of kidney disease was like, and how I simply wasn't told I had kidney disease, what kidney failure was like, and then what it was like trying to get out of the mental health system and how I finally got out. Then I go into lithium basics, a whole section on that. I start off with a note to parents, and I talk a little bit about my own parents. A tribute to them. They are no longer living. Why are people given lithium? You may think they're given for a disease called bipolar. This is untrue. Back in the day, it was a go-to drug. Anybody was given lithium. Nowadays, it's maybe a last straw drug. I don't know. The next chapter, my doctor prescribed this. Does that mean it's safe and effective? I answer that question. But doesn't lithium save lives? I answer that question. My doctor told me lithium is a salt, not a drug. Is this true? Lithium is found in nature. Doesn't that mean it's natural? How could lithium be dangerous if the World Health Organization includes it on its list of essential medicines. And I discussed that for a little while. The next section is called The Consequences of Taking Lithium. I talk about what I started noticing immediately when I started taking lithium. And I go beyond the flat affect thing. I start talking about how I started getting very thirsty and what that was all about. And how I started noticing pimples. How I didn't even know that was a sign of your kidneys starting to fail. And the little known side effects of curly hair. Yeah, your hair starts getting more curly. And people talk about nausea, increased sweating, and there are more to diarrhea. And there are long-term consequences, of course, kidney failure. Some people have the diabetes insipidus permanently. I did. That never went away. And another short-term effect is your thyroid shuts down. And that can also be a long-term consequence. And there are more, too. I get into that. Social and economic consequences of taking lithium. Consequences of psychiatric diagnosis. Actually, that can come after the lithium. For me, it was after lithium that I got a diagnosis. Yep, after lithium. Risk of being prescribed or forced onto other harmful drugs. I was given other drugs after lithium because the diagnosis came after lithium. So, and then another diagnosis. See, I had the schizophrenia diagnosis was given after the lithium, and then I had the bipolar diagnosis after the lithium. So I was given more drugs. And then, of course, there's more risk of hospitalization because you're on all those drugs which cause all the side effects. And then, of course, you have risk of repeat hospitalizations and revolving door syndrome. Then I have another chapter called Taking Your Life Back. So this is how you can revive all that stuff. You can revive your thyroid. You can revive your kidneys. I don't have any answer to diabetes insipidus. It's actually not a serious problem. I just drink a lot of water. And I talk about how much my body requires. For your information, 6 liters in the winter, 20 liters in the summer. Oh, I don't happen to have air conditioning, so I need 20 liters in the summer. And there's no harm in it. You don't get an electrolyte imbalance because your body's already adjusted. No, there are other ways you have to take your life back. You can't just get off the drugs and not take your life back in other ways because you won't succeed. You'll just go running back to them. There are ways that the mental health system, unfortunately will, through its therapy and through the groups and what they do in hospitals, they teach you certain things. They teach you mantras. They teach you to accept your diagnosis, which is a form of brainwashing, really. They do a lot. They sometimes do therapy. And basically, they teach you to accept this life of chronic unemployment and chronic disability and chronic neediness and learned dependency, which is incorrect. It's just not the way life really is. They teach you that you'll never work and that it's okay not to work. And basically, what's the rest of the world doing? Working. You work for a living. But that it's okay to be on disability. And actually, there's no real illness. There's the chemical imbalance myth. It was dispelled a couple decades ago. It was dispelled. They've never found a chemical imbalance in anybody, except that was which caused by the drugs. The drugs cause a chemical imbalance. And I don't actually go into this too much in the book. But what I do explain is that you, in order to leave the mental health system behind, you have to realize that the dependency that you have within you was taught to you by the mental health system. That's the only dependence you have. That's the only neediness you have. You were taught to keep going back to them. You were taught that you need them. They taught you this. They hammered it into you that you need a doctor. They hammered it into you. They taught you that you need therapy. You were taught that by the therapist. And as soon as you realize this, as soon as you realize that therapy taught you that you need therapy, you actually don't need them anymore. You start to realize you're very capable, just as smart and capable as anybody else. And you start to realize you're very capable of making your own decisions. You don't have to rely on a therapist anymore to make those decisions. You're just as autonomous as anybody else, and you don't need to go to the team to decide your life decisions for you. Isn't that cool? So the end of my book is very hopeful, because when you realize these things, you are free. You are capable. You're not disabled. There never was any disability. And I talk a little bit about what the job search was for me, and how I had to suddenly have a job history I never had, and how I'm working, how I'm doing it, how I found out I really was capable after all. So just getting off the drugs and recovering from the drugs is only part of that equation. Another thing, of course, I had to do was get over the last couple of hospitalizations. There were over 50. I had to get over the last couple of hospitalizations that traumatized me, and there was a lot of trauma that happened because, they did stuff, really bad stuff, verbal abuse and stuff like that. I'd never been traumatized before, and I had to get over that. It was hard. And so time really took care of it, and not being a disabled person anymore really took care of that. But, and also sharing with other people and finding out other people had been through the same thing, that kind of did it for me. So the end of the book talks about what I would like to see for all of you today. And I'm not a snob. I really, I try to answer my emails, and I hope to come out with the book soon, Life After Lithium. And if any of you have any questions in the interim and wanna, just talk or ask about the kinds of things that I do, how I've changed my diet, I include some recipes and some recommendations if you have kidney disease, and just how to get healthy, or how to stay healthy, or how to avoid the nut house, or how to avoid dialysis. I will certainly try to answer those questions to the best of my ability. Thanks for watching. Ciao. Bye-bye.